What makes Drupal unique compared to other CMS systems, open source or not?
I think one of the best things about Drupal is not necessarily in the code base, but the community. And I think that's like that's what actually brought me in and made me stay using the technology. I mean, obviously, in terms of the code itself, it's extremely powerful and flexible. And at the time when I was first investigating it, it gave me more options, particularly around things like permissions and users and granularity in that respect. And I appreciated the modularity of the code, but really the community and the number of people who were involved and the enthusiasm there is what really, to me, is like the major strength of Drupal.
What do you think is the most important thing to achieve a successful Drupal project?
To be able to think like Drupal from the beginning. We find that a lot of people will start a project or do a project, or we come in the middle of a project or something, but they haven't really thought things through from the perspective of what Drupal is and what it wants to do. And so they end up fighting a lot of battles that they shouldn't have needed to fight. And so proper planning and actually thinking things through very thoroughly. I mean, this is just true for projects generally, but for Drupal projects, it really is important to honestly plan it out and think it out ahead of time, and think about all the component pieces that you need and how they will fit together so that you don't end up banging your head unnecessarily.
What do you think about the debate that Drupal should be a product to use out of the box, in contrast to a framework for developing web publishing solutions?
I'd like it to be both. I mean, honestly, I am, in many respects, less of a developer than a lot of other people who are engaged in this debate, as it were. But the framework is very, very important, and I think that that sort of is one of those strengths, and it is something that's I don't want to say unique, but it's something that's very special about Drupal, is that framework aspect. And I think that we do need to keep hold of those roots. But I do think that the overall plan to be able to keep it as a robust framework, but construct things in such a way that we can provide things that are out of the box complete, is really sort of the next step for Drupal. But we're never going to satisfy everybody. And so, I mean, personally, from my perspective, making it a framework that people can turn into an out-of-the-box product is still sort of more of my bent. But I also recognize that, in terms of the larger scale marketing that's going on in the world, and the fact that more and more people are just using the web and they're just using tools on the web is a much more common thing now, that having an out-of-the-box something that works is really, really important. And I think we will come up with a solution that actually makes sense. But like many things in Drupal and open source communities in general, it's going to require a lot of iterations and a little bit of bloodshed in the middle. But I think that one of the great things about our community is that we do get in there and get some serious fisticuffs going. But at the end of the day, we sort of emerge with everybody feeling really good about a better product.